So welcome back to another video, and I thought today I'd share a plant that I couldn't live without. As you know, this is a very small garden here. I don't think I've got enough room to grow vegetables here because I like my flowers, and as I've explained before, I used to have a huge expanse. I used to have 3 allotments where I grew an awful lot of vegetables, and on those allotments I had a very, very big bed of this particular plant, which is rhubarb. I think it's probably a little bit like the old Marmite. You either love it or hate it. I absolutely adore rhubarb, and this by the way is a more modern variety, quite a small growing. I believe it's called Santos. I'll put that up in text for you. There's many good varieties of rhubarb. Some come to mind is Timperley Early. There's another great old variety. Champagne, another good variety, and Victoria, another really old variety of rhubarb. So there's some really good. So this is quite a compact one. You can even, allegedly, and I have never done it, you can even grow this in a tub or a container. So if I ever came to the position that I lived in a house with no garden and just had to have tubs, I would certainly, still have some rhubarb. Why I like rhubarb is I think it's quite attractive foliage in itself, and if you don't want to cut it and use it in the kitchen and let it set seed, it has some quite impressive big tall white flowers that come up. Ideally you should cut those off, but it's always good in my mind as a standby. If you like me and like a bit of cooking and want to make a quick dessert or pudding, as I call them, in the summer it's always there. And for instance, what I'm going to do today, I'm not going to video it, but what I'm going to do is pick some of the stems of rhubarb, lightly put it in a saucepan and cook it down for a few minutes on the hob. I like my rhubarb quite well cooked. And then put it in a pie dish, and then just with, what are we talking about, 100 grams of self-raising flour, 50 grams of butter or margarine, and rub the margarine into the flour till it's like breadcrumbs. Add another 50 grams of today it'll be just ordinary granulated caster sugar. You could use brown sugar, you could use any of the sugars really, and then mix that in finally, and you've got a crumble topping. Put your rhubarb into your pie dish, and then put your crumble mix on top, and 25 to 30 minutes in an oven of 180, and you've got a rhubarb crumble. Now what could be easier than that? And that's why I like having some rhubarb. So it's a plant that I would never be without in the garden, however small that garden was. As I say, I'm just going to pick some of the smaller stems here, and you just cut it off, and there's a nice, red stem. Obviously it's been splashed. It rained here quite heavily at the weekend, so I shall wash this first in a bowl of nice clean water. But it's just a question of doing that. And it's good to thin it out this time of year as well, to let the new growth come up. So as I say, it's one of my. There we go. It doesn't matter. It's quite nice red stems lower down, but it doesn't matter. You can use that all up to the top of the stems. I don't, when I've cut this up into cubes and put it in a saucepan and just reduce it down a little bit on the hob before I put it in my, crumble pie dish. You could add just a little bit of sugar if you like, it not too, I must be honest, I like the flavour of the fruit, so I would put very little sugar in it at that point in time, but you could do if you so wished. So there we go. I shall continue on and pick the rest of my rhubarb, and I strongly recommend, if you haven't got any rhubarb and you've even only got a small garden, do consider planting some, because I think it's a very worthwhile plant to grow. By the way, one very valid point is never the leaves, strangely enough, like many plants we eat, the leaves of the rhubarb can be quite poisonous. So obviously you never eat the leaves. You know, I will cut that much off, you know, and then just put that in the recycling garden waste bin. So you never eat the leaves of the rhubarb. But there we go. That's a plant that I really like. Very easy to grow. It doesn't take a lot of looking after. A little bit of water, a little bit of feed. You know, you can force it early on in the season. You can put a nice big clay pot or tub over it and put some straw inside and get really early rhubarb, but that doesn't do the rhubarb crown any good if you do that. You really have to buy crowns every year and set them and force it, or leave them then to recover for a year or two once you've forced it. So anyway, that's rhubarb, a wonderful, easily plant that'll get on and look after itself and also give you in return something for the kitchen. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment. Do you like rhubarb? Don't like rhubarb? I know it's one of those things, and rhubarb went very out of fashion a few years ago, but I think it is coming back in. You know, there's nothing finer than homemade rhubarb crumble with lashings of custard. So that's what I'll be having later anyway. So until next time, good gardening and my best wishes, and bye for now.